We are live at M7 Recording Studios. This is Studio Athlete, and I'm your host, YD the Best. This is the first official pilot episode of Studio Athlete. We're gonna come here today. We got some live questions actually. Got some questions my boy Rafe put together. Shout out the cameraman, shout out the apartments. He got some live questions we put together for the show. Some questions about myself, about the studio, about Studio Athlete, what we're gonna ask. And just be on the lookout for everything we got coming, all the guests we got coming to Studio Athlete. We got a lot of exciting guests coming. So we just gonna go shoot straight through it, and we're gonna go to the first question. So this is actually a multiple part question, a 3-part question. So it asks, who is YD the best? What is Studio Athlete? And why the choice of equipment? So first, I'm gonna start off with YD the best. I'm an artist. I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida, of Puerto Rican descent. I moved to Broward County, Miramar, as I got older. So, I'm half and half Broward County, Miami-Dade all day. I own a studio right here in Miami Lakes called M7 Recording Studios. I've been doing music for over 15 years. I've been engineering myself. I'm one of the creators, one of the first to do everything how I do it. I learned from the greats. Shout out all the people I learned from, everybody, I rub elbows with on the way up. I do a different style of music. I sing, I rap, I songwrite. The last album I just dropped called Night and Day. So the last album I just dropped, Night and Day, shout out my boy Uf Gomo. We did the album together. We collaborated on it. It's a bit of house music mixed with hip hop music. They also asked, what is Studio Athlete? Studio Athlete, I came up with that name. I've been an athlete, my whole life. I grew up around athletes. Most of the most successful people I know are athletes as well. I did a mixture of the way I built my team and the way my business runs. We run it like a football team. We got camaraderie like a football team. Everybody got to play their roles, because everything matters. Everybody matters. And, me, myself, like I said, I grew up playing sports and I grew up also making music. So, I like to make a lot of sports music. I got a song in NBA 2K with Antonio Brown. Shout out AB. Home from the NO is the name of the record. I'm working with, a few athletes. I got Melvin Ingram, aka King Mel. We got a few records coming out, and we got a few records, a few videos we already dropped and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully you catch us in the next year's Madden. EA Sports. Shout out your boy. And lastly, the third part of the question was why the studio equipment. So the equipment that we have here, I'm an engineer, I'm a producer, I'm an artist, I engineer myself. The style of equipment we wanted to use for Studio Athlete is actually recording studio equipment. So this is a Blue mic. We got the Apollo Twin. We got the Apple computer. We got the Pro Tools running. That's how we record everything. So it's actually like an actual, song that we doing. So that's how we doing it over here at Studio Athlete. Shout out all the podcast equipment. All that stuff is really good, but this is the choice we wanted to go. So we're gonna come with the second question. And the second question is, why Nike? Why do you call yourself Nike God? So for those of you that don't know, my name is YDtheBEST, aka the Studio Athlete himself, aka the Nike God. And Nike, man, is just a brand. I always love the brand. It's very comfortable. I'm dry fit all day. I always like to be comfortable. And I just like what they got. Every Nike store down in South Florida, guarantee you could walk in with me. They all know me there. It's pretty much the only store I shop at. And I do rock, a couple different things. Adidas sometimes. BBC, I like BBC. When you rock different jackets, for the most part, we're in the club Nike down. Nike also has a lot to do with sports. I would love a sponsorship with Nike. I would love to be part of the Nike team. I love what they do in music, and I love what they do in sports. So, that's why they call me the Nike God. You always gonna catch me head to toe drip down Nike. So we got the third music. I'm sorry, the third question. How did you get into music, and how did you get into sports? Music is in my blood. My father was always a DJ. His brother, which is my uncle Tony Carrasco, is a DJ to this day. He's a producer. He's overseas in Italy, big time producer, made a lot of hits. Shout out my boy Jellybean Benitez. Also like family to me, one of my uncles. He's big time in the music industry. Done a lot of things in the game, and I learned from a lot of these guys. And I grew up on like house music, New York house music, and disco music. And I was, I was introduced to hip hop music because of my culture and where I was at. But I give more credit to my brother and my sister. So shout out my brother and my sister. They put me on a lot of hip hop. My brother put me on Lil Wayne, No Limit Soldiers when I was growing up. Nas, my sister more put me on Outkast, everything going on in Atlanta because she went to college in Atlanta. So she brought back, a lot of that hip hop that I needed to definitely hear and become a fan of at a young age. And I always, I was always rapping. My parents, they gave me like a karaoke machine when I was younger. And I used to do my mixtapes. All my answer machines was mixtapes. And sports, how did we get into sports? I grew up also playing sports. My dad was a triple athlete, played every sport. So, growing up in North Miami Beach, I had a soccer ball, I had a hockey goalpost, I had a football, I had a baseball. We had everything. We used to do dunk contests in the backyard. My dad and my mom, they'll put like a 2x4, they'll build a hoop on top of it and put it in concrete in the sand. And we'll play like that on the crates and stuff back in the day. And when I got to, I believe maybe like fifth grade or so, like that, I always played street football. We was always in the street in NMB, playing, everybody getting moss. We doing stuff like that. I played Optimist football at a young age, and then after that, I went to middle school and high school and all that, and I played basketball. But when I got to high school, I played football and I went to Chaminade Madonna. Shout out, one of my alma maters, Chaminade Madonna. I was on the second team that won the state championship. I was on JV the first time we won the first, but shout out Chaminade. They just won a three-peat. The new coach that they got over there is doing a great job, amazing job. He's putting us on the map. Shout out all the Chaminade people, all my football teammates, everybody that went out there with me, and all the new guys doing what they doing, representing for the city. So we're gonna go with the fourth question, and it's some advice for those starting out in the industry, trying to get to your level or above. So, man, my level, I'm just an average Joe. I come from the bottom. We come from nothing. We build it how we see it. You got to dream about it. You got to pray about it. You definitely, first and foremost, you got to work at it. And, I'm blessed. I was raised with both my parents. I got my business partners to this day as my parents. It's always going to be my family first. And, we a tight knit group. We built the recording studio, and it's taken us many years to get to this point. I was a barber for over 15 years. So, a lot of the clientele and a lot of the start from this place was from my barbershop history. So everybody knows me in the streets. I was always YD the barber, YD the best. I used to pass out my mixtapes. I used to do shows. Shout out my boy C-Dub. I used to work at his barbershop. He used to be my manager back in the day. We used to do a lot of stuff like that. Um, musically, if you want to get into the game, you got to have consistency. You got to have content. You got to believe in yourself. You got to work with people. You got to be outside networking. If you want to produce for people, if you're a producer, I've seen a lot of young producers come up, specifically, we got my boy Fade Focus. We got my boy Mike from 31st. We got 20K Beats. We got Dream Bills. We got Rick Brown, The Service, all the members of The Service. So I've seen, and I got many other people, Ambiance, Reezy Renegade. If I'm forgetting your name, man, I still love you, and we definitely gonna have you a part of the show. But I've seen a lot of guys come up in the producing world, and just from seeing them how they do it is, like I said, it's consistency, believing in yourself, be a positive person, speak good things into the world, and that positive energy gonna all come back to you. And as far as building a business, it's important. You got to have a good support system. You got to have a good team. You got to clean. You got to have your equipment right. We treat this place like Starbucks. We like to have great customer service, man. You got to talk to people well. You got to give respect to people so they could love what you're doing and be a part of what you're doing and ultimately support what you're doing. So, that's advice to people that I have getting into business or becoming an artist. Just take it serious, be very consistent. Um, what's my favorite song I ever put out? Ooh, wow, that's a good question. I got plenty songs that I put out, but I would say up to date right now, I got two records that I recently put out, and it's a different sound. We changed the sound completely. We changed what we're doing, and the song is we got Tu Mama, and we got Wave After Wave. Wave After Wave. We sampled one of my uncle's records from back in the day, Tony Carrasco, my uncle. Me and my boy Oof, we sampled the record. We got my boy Jorge that worked on the album with us. We got a lot of top producers, doing their thing, young upcoming producers as well. Um, so on that record, it's a mixture of hip hop, R&B, and house music, and the style of music that I grew up on. So the reason I use my uncle sound, I'm trying to give to the world my roots, where the style of music I came, the drum patterns and the way I'm singing, the lyrics we put together, wave after wave. Make sure y'all definitely go check that out on iTunes, Spotify, every streaming platform. And the second song is Tu Mama. I'm Puerto Rican. I got a Puerto Rican background. I grew up in North Miami Beach. I grew up with a lot of Haitians and Jamaicans. Shout out all my Zoes and my Jamaicans. And, I like to have a lot of island music out. I like to have a lot of that concept in my music. And this is actually a Dembow song. Dembow is from DR. My kids are half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. I definitely love Dominican Republic. I love all the Spanish countries. Shout out all the Spanish countries. Shout out all the islands. Shout out all my brothers and sisters, man, out here doing their thing. But that song is a Spanish song. I'm rapping in English, and my boy Oof is from straight out of Colombia. He's doing his thing on there, doing the Spanish thing. So be on the lookout for these two records. Definitely gonna make you dance. You might hear them on the radio, maybe a cruise. And the last question my boy Rafe wanted to ask me is what's next? So what's next? We working on this podcast. We working on putting more music out, more content. In the year 2024, things have changed. We out here learning what to do. We learning off all the young guys, learning off all the previous guys doing their thing, and we putting our own style together to do what we need to do. And be on the lookout for this podcast studio athlete. We're gonna be showing you all my music. We're gonna be showing you all the guest music. We're gonna let you know what they into as far as sports or music. And I got some albums dropping. I got some singles, some mixtapes. We got a lot of things coming. Stay in tune. Stay in tune with the YouTube, with the Instagram, with the TikTok. And that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for being a part of the show, Studio Athlete. Thank you to the apartments, my boy Rafe. Shout out everybody in the M7 Studios recording family. And like I said, we here live at M7 Recording Studios. This is Studio Athlete, and I'm your host, YDtheBEST. We out.